Hey, how's it going? Welcome back to the channel. So today we got a little something different. Not necessarily in the puzzle type, because this is clearly a Sudoku, but we have two puzzles that are almost identical. And as I'll switch between the two, as you can see, the only difference is one uses white Kropki dots and one uses black Kropki dots. So let's get into these things and kind of describe what we're looking at. So these came in a pair. They are, as I said, almost identical. We've got two puzzles. The first one, which we're going to do, is called 4x4 X-sum twins white dots by Cale, Schoon. The second one is 4x4 X-sum twins black dots by Cale, Schoon. So let's start on the white dot puzzle, because that was the order that they were presented in. And let's get into these rules and have some fun with this little guy. So we've got normal 4x4 Sudoku rules. So every row, every column, and every 2x2 box must contain the digits 1 through 4 once each. And now we have X-sums. So the numbers outside the grid, which handily they've provided places where we can type in numbers, indicate the sum of the first n digits in that row or column seen from the direction of a clue, where n is the first digit seen by that clue. So what does all of that mean? Well, it means that whatever this digit is, it could be anything. These digits don't have to follow the 4x4 Sudoku rules. These are clues. So they could be any number up to double-digit numbers, in fact. We don't know that at this point, so we'll figure it out later. But what these clues are giving us is going to be the sum of whatever it sees in its row or column. Now, how many of those rows or column digits we see to add together to create that clue is going to be determined by the very first digit looking from the clue. So let's say this is a 9, arbitrary number, probably not correct. In fact, highly unlikely. Now let's say this is a 3. If this is a 9 clue, it says, and this is a 3, that means the first 3 digits of this column must equal 9. So that's how X-sums work. And that will work for a myriad of different type of or numbers, values, etc. And the exact same works for the rows. If this was a 9 and this was a 3, these 3 digits would have to equal 9. Now, the only other the only other rule set is a Kropki dot rule set. And the specific version of this puzzle, we have numbers separated by a white dot are consecutive. So that's 1/2 of the Kropki dots. So in this clue up here, like I said, this doesn't have to have anything to do with the values required to put in here, but whatever this digit is, this digit has to be either 1 above or below of that digit. They must be consecutive. Same goes for these 2 digits. And those are all the rules. So this looks quite interesting. A little 2-for-1 perhaps here. And let's get into this and start solving. So where is a good place to start? Well, you'll notice there's no digits given. It's a 4x4, so if there was a digit given, it'd be pretty, it would take up most of the puzzle. So what kind of information can we infer? Well, X-sum values can be a little bit deterministic in terms of what can be used. So let's say this was a 1. Well, what would that mean? It would mean that some number of digits in this column, assuming this was the 1, would have to equal 1. And this digit right here would determine how many of those digits would be used to equal that 1. Well, clearly, if you have a 1 digit on the outside in these X-sum digits, whatever digit is next to it looking right at it would have to be a 1, because there's no other way to make a 1. Now, if you move on to the next digit, which is 2, I think we're going to find we have some issues for using a 2 as an X-sum value. And why is that? Well, let's put in a digit 2 here just to display. Now, what are you going to put in here? Now, we know that some number of these cells must add up to 2. Well, there's only one way to make a 2 in a 4x4, or any Sudoku really, that doesn't have some crazy rule sets, is a 2. You can't add 1 and 1 together because they're always going to see each other. So how the heck would you put a 2 in here and satisfy this 2? Because if you put a 2 here, you have to add 2 digits together. And then clearly that could never work. And you can't put a 1 in here, because if you put a 1 in here, well, that's it. You're done. This would have to be a 1 clue. So 2s actually do not work. You can't put a 2 in any of these, which is somewhat interesting. I think we'll find that the digits above 2 are going to be much more lenient in what can be used. Now, maybe this one is going to give us a good look. We know 1, 2, 3, and 4 are the only possible digits that we can have. Now, could this ever be a 1? The answer is no, because then this would have to be a 2, and we go into that same issue that I was just describing over there. You can't make that work, so this can't be 1. Could this be 2? Well, if this is a 2, this would have to be a 3, because you couldn't put a 1 here, because you'd have to put a 1 here. So these could be up to 3, 4, or 5 just by looking at the Kropki number, Kropki digits. Now, if this were to be a 4, that would mean you have to add all 4 of the digits. Well, all 4 digits, 1, 2, 3, and 4, add up to 10. So this would have to be a 10. Well, you can't have 4 and 10 be consecutive, so that don't work, which means this can't be 5. What's the next way to look at it? What if this is 3? You'll have 3 digits starting with 3 that somehow have to equal to 4. And that can't be done. So this has to be a 2, and this is going to have to be a 3. Now we know there has to be 2 digits that equal 3. One of them's already a 2, so this has to be a 1. Phone's going off. It's not even in this room, and my watch is telling me about it. Thank you, watch. These have to be 3, 4. This has to be 1, 2, and 3, 4 here. Now, one of these has to be a 1. So it means, and I purposely wrote these in, I wouldn't normally necessarily do that in a 4x4 because there's so very little things, but one of these 2 digits has to be a 1. So that means one of these 2 digits has to be a 1 to correlate to our 1 in the actual grid. Now, as we were stating previously, could this ever be a 1? Well, it would force this to be a 2, and we've broken the puzzle again. So this can't be 1, so this has to be 1, which means this has to be 1, and this has to be 2. Now, these digits here aren't necessarily much better to work with in terms of what could be the options. We know we can't put a 2 on here because that ruins the puzzle, but 3 works. Maybe it's better to look at this one, actually, because we have some information here we can work with. This one might work as well, but what we're going to end up doing is correlating these 2 together in terms of what can happen. So if this was a 4, once again, we'd have to have 4 digits all added up, 1, 2, 3, 4. Those would have to equal 10. So you'd have to put a 10 here. Now, if I put a 10 here, I would have to put either a 9 or an 11 here. Now, if I know I'm only using 2 digits, how the heck do I get up to 9 or 11? I can't. So there's no way this is 4. This is 3. This is 4. And we've determined that on this side that if this is a 4, these have to equal 10, so this has to equal 10. Now, there's no way I can write 10 in this clue, so I'm going to do it kind of backwards, put 01, just so that there's a visual reference, and this is going to be the same thing. I hope you kind of understand what I'm thinking here. I'm just putting that in there as it's some sort of understanding of this value. Now, we know these have to be 1 and 3. So one of these has to be a 1 clue. Don't necessarily know which one it is yet. I don't know that I need to at the moment. Now let's look back here again after we've done our little thing over here. We know this is a 2 clue, which means that we either have a 2 and a 3 or a 2 and a 4. So this has to be either 5 or 6. Now, that being said, this then has to be consecutive with it. So it's either 4, 5, 6, or 7. Now, we know this is a 3 clue, so there has to be 3 digits combined, which rules out 4 and 5 instantly, because we already have 4 and we need another one. In fact, we can put in a 2, 4 here just to add some more clarity. The bare minimum we can get here is 6. 3, 1, 2. Could we ever have a 7 here? Well, the answer is no, because if we have 3, 1, and 2 is 6, or 3, 1, and 4, which is 8. So this has to be 6, this has to be 5. Now we've just determined that this has to be 2 and this has to be 4. Okay. So now we know this is 5, so this has to be 3 and 4. We can cross out our 2's and put a 2 here. This has to be a 3. This has to be a 1 and a 3. So I'm going to put my clues in. Put 1. I got a doot. I'm going to fill in this. Obviously, this puzzle's already essentially finished, but I'm going to put it in anyway. This 3 forces this to be a 1 here. And now we know these have to equal whatever these 3 clues are, which is 8. So let's put that in there. So now we know what all our clues are. And we just have a 4 sitting over here. And the solution is correct. Congratulations. So that's the first one. Now let's go take a look at the other version, which is the only difference is we have a black Kropki dot up here in the clues. And the difference between a white Kropki dot and a black Kropki dot is the black Kropki dot requires that these 2 digits be in a 1-to-2 ratio. In layman's terms, all that means is that whatever this digit is, this one has to be either half or double of this digit. Now, where do we start on this one? So I guess down here is probably again going to be the best place to look at it. Now, on a black Kropki dot, there's not a whole lot you can do, especially in a 4x4. You can do 1, 2, or you can do 2, 4. You can't clearly do 3, 6 because we can't use the digit 6 here. Now, if we put a 1 here, we're telling ourselves that this has to equal 1. That don't work. Now, if this is a 2, that forces this to be a 1 as one of the options. That clearly doesn't work because 2 and 1 are different digits. They don't add up to the same thing. And the other option would be, if this is a 2, that this would be a 2. Again, that doesn't work because we have to do at least 2 digits to get there. And if this was then we've ruled out 1 and 2 so far. If this was a 4, we know that all of these digits have to be added together. 1, 2, 3, 4 equals 10. No bueno. So this is not a 2. This has to be 4. Now, clearly this can't be 1 because we've already determined that. This can't be... Wait. Did I just mess that up real easy? Real easy. Yeah, I messed things up real easy. Sorry. Let's go back to our logic. Excuse me. Because what I just did here broke this puzzle. If this were a 2, this would have to equal 4. That would be 2 2's. So I just messed up on a 4x4. You're welcome. Oh, black Kropki dot, 1-to-2 ratio. This could never be a 1 because it would force this to be a 1. So get rid of the 1. And this can never be a 1 because it forces that to be a 1. Now, if this is 4, this does force this to be a 2 because it can't go up to 8. Oh, I'm being stupid. Outside of the lines, this could be an 8. Eek, and it could be a 6. So let's put in the real numbers here. I was getting into thinking these had to be part of the solution. I already explained that doesn't happen, so yay me. Now, if this was an 8, let's get back to the puzzle, sorry. Let's fix this thing because it's falling over. If this was an 8, that would force this to be a 4, and all of these would have to add up to 10. That doesn't work. Go away. Now, if this was a 6, this could very well be a 3. It'd be 3 digits that have to equal 6. 3, 1, 2, or some combination thereof. Now, we've already said previously, we can never have a 2 in our clues because there's no way to make 2 without just making 1 digit. So get rid of the 2. Could this be a 4? If this is a 4, this has to be a 2. And if this is a 2, this has to be 2, 2. 2, 2. So this has to be 6, which means this has to be 3. This has to be 1, 2. This has to be 4. That took way much more time than it should have. And of course, I bumbled and stumbled my way to it. So we now know that we've got these digits. Now, this Kropki dot pair is actually quite interesting because it doesn't have to follow our typical rules. It could go off the charts, essentially, because these are just the sums. So this, I mean, we know the max it could actually be is 10, which would be interesting and probably might actually work. So the highest this can be is 10, and like I said, I can't write in 10. The lowest it could be is what? Well, it can't be 1, because it would force this to be 2. We've already proven 2s don't work. This can't be 2, because we've proven 2s don't work in clues. It could be 3, let's say, and this would then be 6. This could be 4, and this could be 8. This could be 5, and this could be 10, which I can't write in. And we can go backwards the other way as well. So there are a bunch of options there. Now, if this was a 3, this would have to be a 2-1 pair, which works perfectly fine. So let's keep the 3 here as a possibility. If this is a 4, this is broken, because you can't put a 4 here and then add together to get to that 4, because this would have to be a 2-2, or you'd have to, and 1 doesn't work here because you can't do that, and you couldn't put a 4 here because then you'd have to get all of them. So this can't be a 4. It could be a 5, like I've said, because this could be, what could it be a 5? If it was a 5, this would have to be a 2, but it would force this to be a 1, so that only equals 3. So I'm saying this is not a 5. I just want to make sure I'm being correct when I say that, and I'm pretty sure I am. So no 5s. Could this be 6? If this is 6, this obviously can't be 4. This, it can only be 1, 2, or 4. Maybe we should write that in there just so it's sitting there and staring us in the face. If this is a 6, this can't be 1. Clearly it wouldn't work. Well, this can't be 1 anyway, so let's get rid of that. It can't be 2, because 2, 1 would be 3. And if it can't be 4, because then you'd have to use all these to get to that, so that's not 6. Could this be 7? Can it be 7? No, it's going to be the same instances where you have only 2 or 4 digits. So if it's a 2, this has to be a 1, and this has to be a 3. That's the only way it works, and I'm just going to smack my mic around. So this can't be 7, because then this would either be 2 or 4. We said 2 has to go with a 1 here, or 4 would take up all, which is 10. Same is going to be true for 8 and 9. And then the only other instance that could possibly be correct is 10. Now, it's a bit weird. I'm going to put 013, realizing that it's either 10 or 3. If this is 10, this has to be 5. And if this is 3, this has to be 6. Now, could this be 6? If it's 6, this digit it can't be 1, clearly, so it's either 2 or 3. So it could be 6, because this could be 3, 2, and 1, or 3, 1, 2. Doesn't really matter which way it is. This couldn't be 2, because then it would be 2 and 1, which would be 3. So if this is 6, this is a 3. If this is 5, it breaks, because 3 can't work, because you'd have to have these 3 digits adding up to 5, and you can't do that in 3 digits. And like we've previously said multiple times, if this is 2, this is a 2-1 pair, which equals 3. So this is 6, which means this is 3. Now this then has to be 2 and 1. This has to be 3. This has to be 2. This has to be 1. This has to be 1. This has to be 4. Now this is going to be our 10. I'm putting the 01. This has to be 10. You'll start seeing some similarities now here. These have to be from 3 and 4. This is just a given 4, so then we can get our 3 and our 4 here. We need to have a 3 here and a 2 here, And I'm going to put one more digit in before I switch over to finishing off our clues. This has to be a 1 because this looks at a 1. This has to be a 6 because looking at a 2 that sees 2, 4. So this is 6. This has to be 1. So we know this has to be 1. So this ends up being a 1. And there we go. You solved the puzzle. Now let's look back and forth between these two. They're not quite the same, but they're pretty close, which is interesting. But it just goes to show that two Sudoku sets that are almost identical can have, first off, they can be quite interesting to do and quite unique to themselves. And you can, as you can see, you get multiple different, not multiple different ways, but different solves. So anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed that one. It was a nice little quick one, just something, oops, I didn't mean to click that one. Two different, that's one I have set up for later. Two different ways of looking at a 4x4 Sudoku where there was no digits given, just the rules themselves allow you to solve them. So anyway, like I said before, I hope you enjoyed that one, and I will see you on the next. Thanks.